Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Forum YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux, producer Bobby helping us out, pulling the strings here this week as we move to our Thursday race of the day preview. We're going to head on out to Aqueduct. They have a big weekend coming up. Ashley, I think 5 graded stakes races. I think there's 5 at Aqueduct Saturday, 5 stakes at Santa Anita, and 5 at Keeneland. So just 15 stakes races on Saturday alone around the country. Let's see if we can pad the bankroll here. In race number 7 on Thursday. It's an optional 62 non-2. What makes this one a little different, a little unique, I think, when you're handicapping it, Ashley, they're going a little longer than normal, a mile and 3/16. So that might be either the equalizer, or I think the distance could be something that some of these horses have a problem getting. What were your overall thoughts of this field?
I like the distance. I like these sorts of races where it's
I
just
agree.
pushing it a little bit, right? It gets you out of the mile and an eighth comfort zone, but it's nothing that some horses can't handle, like a mile and a half, which I also really love the distance races. So in terms of the field, I think it's an interesting group. Honestly, I don't think there's any horse in here that I could say they have no shot of winning it. I think it's going to come down to the race shape, the pace, and what connections decide to do, because I think there are a couple of runners in here that they show versatility. They can be on the lead, they can sit the trip, they can close. And I think it's going to depend what the others do. I think with the compact field of 6, it makes it more of a rider's race.
Take a look at what Timeform US thinks as far as the pace projector is concerned. They've got it pretty slow up front. I think when you have a small field like this, though, sometimes it can be a little bit different, because I don't expect them all 6 to be lining up across the lead battling, but I wouldn't be shocked to see, Peak and Good Skate and the 3 and even maybe like the 1 with Carmouche aboard all try to hold their position and be forward. And then when that happens, they can kind of be jockeying a little bit, Ashley. So I could see this pace unfolding in different ways.
I can, and I don't know if I necessarily completely agree with it. I mean, in the case of Peak, I think it's the races when you go back 4 more starts ago where the fractions are really quick. But when he's been forward in those last 2, we're talking halves that are approaching 50. I don't know if that screams a pace setter. I think it screams compact fields made the lead and, made the lead. I don't want to say accidentally, but sort of inherited the lead by the nature of the race, where Good Skate last time out, I think they went a little bit more honest. I don't think he'll be on the pace, though. I do think where he is sort of positioned here is correct. And Macallan could certainly be closing, but was a hard closer last time because they went 46-1 down at Gulfstream. The races that you go back 3 ago, he can be a little bit more forward. So I find the pace scenario actually to be quite murky.
Yeah, it's a fun one to handicap. Let's meet the field here for Aqueduct's 7th race. This is Macallan's last effort, and this was on February the 16th. This is a pretty good effort, winning in kind of a tricky race because the horse was close up early, then got completely outrun, lost position, was all the way back to double-digit lengths off, and then made this big sustained 3-wide bid, still on the wrong lead there, but ended up getting up, kind of grinding up. So that was his first start back in 11 months, too. Feels like can step forward off of that. The form overall is solid. Like, a lot of these horses look similar on paper.
They do. And I think with Macallan's win last time out, the pace just crumbled in there. Those horses were 4th or worst in the field. The closers were closing, and that can work out really well at Gulfstream Park when the fractions are hot, when you're going 2 turns opposed to the 1 turn, and he got the right trip. But look at the race 3 back at the distance. He stalked throughout. I think he needed more of a punch. He failed as the favorite there, but I like that they gave him a ton of time off. He came back. He was ready to roll off the layoff. And for me, Gino, when I assess the big run, quote unquote, off the layoff, I'm looking for numbers that are the same. If he pops like a 99 buyer there, I'm a little concerned that he'll take a step backward. But an 84 to me is sort of right where he needs to be and where he should be.
It's right in the wheelhouse where he comes back to the numbers right here is running, and you can feel like there's a step forward coming off of that from a pattern standpoint. That's a really great point with Macallan. And yeah, honestly, a little versatility. The last couple races, as you pointed out, showed different trips and has been very, very honest. Magical Ways, the 2, is 0 for the last 12, but was just 3rd at this level last time out. A horse who just hasn't been winning, but you can just isolate the races he's been running recently, and they fit really well with this group. Lost to a horse 2 starts back named Masmic, who's won 4 out of 5. You see some italics throughout the recent running line, so he's been running into some sharp horses, and he did legitimately have a bad start last time out. He just is a horse that, to me, feels like an under horse. That you like playing in tries and supers and stuff like that. I just always find someone else kind of jumps up and beats him, but he doesn't get overmatched by a group like this, Ashley.
He doesn't. I'm a little concerned he's one of those sort of slow horses. Slow is not the right word, but he's slow and methodical in the stretch.
Grindy,
And he's
yeah,
kind of
just real like
grinding. He's kind of a plotter in a lot of ways where he's making the move, but it takes him a while to get going. And not that he's necessarily slow, but you know what I mean in terms of the
yeah.
stretch. He's not going to be a horse that makes one explosive run. It's just not his style. He doesn't have it. So I think sometimes with horses like this, the idea is, well, he's grinding. He's getting those pieces. Let's go a little bit further. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I think if you look at races such as 3-back, it would have worked for him, right? Because the pace was hot. I think he needs pace help in here.
Yeah, the concern would be in a field like this, can he get like outrun while others
Yeah.
are just more naturally quick and he's kind of grinding it up and trying to keep up with them. Rungius was fast early last time out and then faded, was right with the leaders, was tracking, sort of felt like a race that a horse would need coming off the bench. He hadn't raced since May of last year. So I can absolutely give him an excuse for that last start and I can say he can build off of it. But even so, Ashley, some of the better races he's ever run feel kind of a cut below others in here. So if you were to jump up with one of his best races, I still don't know if that's quite good enough. I had him more of an under type in here. What do you think about the 3?
Yeah, I could probably only use him underneath it here. He likely needed the race last time out. The prior time we saw him was at Oakland Park, and they have a couple of distance races. The stake races, the Temperance Hill, they just ran that. But at the end of the meet on that closing weekend, you see 1 3/4 miles, which is a demanding task, but they get a big field. The purse money's good. Want to run for it and give it a shot. And he was third in there. I thought he was an even third. Prior to that, I actually didn't hate his effort going 1 3/8 miles behind Sitting on Go, who's turned out to be an okay horse in his own right. And my concern, though, goes back to trip for him because you go to the races 2 and 3 back. They are at longer distances, even. Kind of just chasing in both of them. He ran fine. His latest win, gate to wire, and they were crawling early, 50-4. I don't think they're going to go 50-4 because I think they'll be about 6 wide then. Because I think if it's 50-4, it's anyone's race from a pace perspective. And his other win, he was able to close. So I just can't work out a situation in my head where I see him winning.
Number 4, Peak got the lead last time out, rode the rail, put away the other pace players, was no match for your eventual winner that day. But that's a really sharp horse who I just mentioned we've seen in a couple of the other running lines. Masmek, who's won 4 of the last 5. I feel like Peak is just a solid fit at this level with this group. You were pointing out, Ashley, the horse has some speed, but this horse can sit off the pace too and was probably getting the lead in some spots where they were just going a little bit slower. I think a nice fit here. Curious at the price, but I think one of the players, I feel like I picked him second. I think you picked him third. Like he just kind of seems like one of those underneath types.
He does. And I think the race 2 back, I have to draw a line through it. It's a 3-horse field. And I said, this is a rider's race. That's completely a rider's race. And I think that was probably a conscious decision between Lyndon Rice and Jose Lezcano. Look at how it shakes up on paper. He ends up winning and he had to work for it. I will give him that. So those races can be demanding in that way. But then next time out, pace setter, they went actually a little bit slower. There was moisture in the track, so you'd expect that somewhat on a good track, probably a little bit heavier. And it just is no match for the winner. The winner comes back to win next time out. I said he could be on the lead. I don't think so. I think he might just try to find a target in front of him, and maybe that works out better for him. But another one that's going to have to be able to handle a little added ground. And off the last out, we'll see what happens. For me, another one that in terms of a top spot, it's a little bit of a stretch to find.
I started to warm up more and more to Good Skate the more I looked through this field. I like the fact that he's a 6-time winner. All those wins have been at Aqueduct. He has speed. We've seen him win on the lead, but he can sit off a little bit too, Ashley, and that could be really important in a race like this where we're kind of confused by the pace scenario. So we know at least he's got some of that natural speed. He's got a little bit of finish. He's also proven at the trip. That's a little bit longer than, the normal trip that we've been talking about. Some of these others we're not sure. So yeah, I think you put all those together, second start back after an 8.5-month layoff. He could even be a little fitter and better than that last effort. Like I feel like a lot of positives for him where if he were to show up with one of his better efforts in his A game, it would probably be pretty close to everybody's A game in here.
So you go to the race 3 back. He was second, disqualified, placed third behind Ben Duke. He came back in the Suburban. You can see he was pulled up. He was put on the equine ambulance. And his first return to the races is this race. You see a loose horse on the lead at this point, certified lover boy who dropped his rider earlier in this race. For the record, he's come back. He worked on March 27th at Belmont. For those looking for that information, you can find it. He's made it back to the work tab. And I think in terms of how Good Skate races here, he did what he needed to do. I think this is a good effort. Fresh off the layoff. He wins pretty easy. I think part of it also because the horse was in front of them, right? They have to kind of adjust and make sure they don't run up on the heels of him. But this horse has held his own against some decent horses. And I bring up Ben Duke because he was just second behind Bishop's Bay at Oaklawn Park this past weekend in a stakes race. To me, I think Good Skate's the horse to beat. He has the experience at a mile and 3/16. He's run well. He's been close to the action. I think he's going to get that same setup once again in here.
Okay, and I'll try to sell you on this outside horse, and not because I'm just a theater fan and a fan of Shakespeare, but with Othello, it's more of like a process of elimination with the rest of this group. Like nobody in the rest of this group wows me or just scares the heck out of me from like they're a monster, they're in the best of form right now.
Right.
Then you look at Othello, and he wins his first 2 starts. He's obviously a distance horse because they debuted him going long. Then in his second start, he wins the Mucho Macho Man. And following that, they throw him in really tough races. They're trying to get him qualified for the Derby. So he's in the Holy Bull. He's in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Those fields are a little too tough. Then he comes back after a couple months. He's in the Pegasus at Monmouth Park. He faced the good version of Tuscan Sky that day. He also ran into Domestic Product, who's a future Grade 1 winner. So June 2024, he's never really in that race. He comes back in December, the end of 2024. He hooks a sloppy track. So, his speed figure isn't all that great. And on that sloppy track that day, it was basically really speed favoring. The winner, Gunnett, sat second and just kind of cruised to the front end. And then in the most recent race, the speed figure is still a little light. Visually, that was one of his better performances. And you could see he was really making up some late ground and late energy. And mainly, Ashley, I just think this is a horse that has no problem with the distance. I think getting a little bit more for him, he should have absolutely no problem like settling and making his kind of grinding run and keep going. So I'm going to take a little swing with him in this race because I thought there should be some value here in a race where I just didn't love the rest of the field. So will he need to step up? Absolutely. Will he need a little bit of a trip? Sure. Just feel like with the rest of this group, I kind of seen their best efforts or pretty close to it. And I think there might be a little more of a ceiling with Othello on the outside.
He's the young gun too. He's the 4-year-old. He lacks the experience when it comes to race day comparison to the others, right? Like the horse to his inside. Could skate a lot more races under his belt, 30 of them to be exact. But you bring up some great points about the progression, about the distance. I don't think the distance at all is an issue for him. He can probably run all day, especially now. He's proven it because at first when you look at him, you're like, uh-oh, can he take the 2-turn test, or is it just the level of competition? I think it was more the level of competition. You mentioned he's had a little of, minor setbacks or time off at least. And then I liked his last performance. I agree with you. My only concern is, will he need the pace setup? And how quickly, realistically, will they go for a mile and 3/16? If they're blistering, watch out because he'll become flying. And I don't think he necessarily has to be last in here either. But maybe if they are going slow, it also gives him the option to be closer to it, right? That's always the argument. We're like, oh, he'll get outrun early. Well, not necessarily. If they're going slow, he'll be right up there.
Might keep him in the race, right? And give him an opportunity to really outfinish some of them. The key is, as we move to selections here, for me, I just want a price on him. So he's got to be 5-1 or above for me, or else it's not even worth playing because he does have questions, concerns, and things that I think are going to be built into the price. If they're not built into that price, it's not worth it. So for me, I put him on top. Then I'll use the 5 Good Skate in the second spot. You and I both have the 4 and the 5 in the mix, I think, as major players here. Talk to us about how you stacked them up.
Go with Good Skate. I thought he did what he needed to do in the return to the races. I think in terms of trip, he can trip out in here. He has the experience at the distance. He absolutely loves it at Aqueduct. When you look at his record lifetime, and then you look at the Aqueduct dirt track. The one thing that I look at here a little bit is Macallan, who I just wonder what we're going to see from him. He's 6 years old. He's only made it to the races 10 times. We know he's had some setbacks and time off, but loved the win at Gulfstream Park. I think that's a race that you can certainly now come back to New York and build off of. And he's going to take love in here, so that's a little bit of a concern for me. But for me, these are the top 2.
Those daily racing form past performances are already out for Saturday at Aqueduct. It is Wood Memorial Day, so you can start handicapping right now and see who's going to get those Kentucky Oaks points in the Gazelle, who's going to get the Derby points in the Wood. Whoever you're playing on Thursday at Aqueduct, we wish you the best of luck.